If you've built a bond ladder for retirement income, or you're thinking about building one, I want you to consider something that most advisors will never bring up. Bond ladders feel safe. They feel predictable. And for a long time, that's exactly why people love them. But there are three things about bond ladders that quietly work against you, and almost nobody explains them. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how a bond ladder works, where it can fall short, and what else deserves a seat at the table when you're building your retirement income plan. Let's get into it. Let's define it first. What is a bond ladder? A bond ladder is exactly what it sounds like. A ladder made of bonds instead of rungs of wood. You buy a series of bonds that mature at different times. Maybe one matures in year 1, another in year 2, another in year 3, and so on out to year 5 or year 10 or further. As each bond matures, you get that money back. You can spend it, or you can reinvest it into a new bond further out on the ladder, keeping the whole structure going. Why do people build these? A few reasons, and they're good reasons. First, predictability. You know roughly when money is coming due. Second, it helps you avoid being forced to sell investments in a down market. If a rung matures, you're not selling. The bond simply pays out. And third, it's something you can build yourself. You don't need a complicated product. You just need bonds and a plan for how to stagger them. Bond ladders have real appeal, and for certain situations, they can make a lot of sense. But like every strategy, they come with trade-offs. And those trade-offs matter a lot more once you're actually living off this money in retirement. Here are the three risks that a bond ladder by itself does not solve. Risk number 1, reinvestment risk. When a rung of your ladder matures, you don't get to choose what interest rates look like that year. If rates have dropped since you built your ladder, you're now reinvesting that money at a lower rate than you planned on. Your income from that point forward can be smaller than you expected, through no fault of your own planning. Risk number 2, interest rate risk on the value of the bond itself. If you ever need to sell a bond before it matures, say an emergency comes up, the price you get depends on what happened to interest rates since you bought it. If rates have risen, the market value of your existing bond can be lower than what you paid. You could be forced to sell at a loss at the exact moment you need the cash. Risk number 3, longevity risk. A ladder has an end date. If you build a 10-year ladder, it's designed to provide for 10 years. It's not designed to guarantee income if you live to be 95 or 100. Once the ladder runs out, the plan has to be rebuilt, and that assumes there's still money left to rebuild it with. Let me give you a hypothetical example. I'll call him David. David built a 10-year bond ladder when he retired, expecting a fairly stable interest rate environment. A few years in, rates moved in a direction he didn't plan for. Suddenly, the rungs of his ladder that were maturing were reinvesting at less favorable rates than he'd projected. His plan wasn't wrong, but it wasn't designed to adapt to that shift. That's the nature of reinvestment risk. That's not a flaw in bond ladders. It's just a feature in how they're built. And here's where I want to pause and reframe things. The real question isn't bonds versus something else. The real question is, what job do you need this specific money to do? Some money in your retirement plan just needs to grow. Some money needs to stay liquid for emergencies. And some money needs to do one very specific job: provide income you cannot outlive, no matter what happens to interest rates or how long you live. A bond ladder is good at some of those jobs. It's not designed for the last one. So let's talk about what is. This is where fixed indexed annuities, or FIAs, enter the conversation. An FIA is a contract with an insurance company. In exchange for your premium, the insurance company can offer principal protection, along with the option to add a rider that provides guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Let's compare it to the bond ladder on the same three risks we just talked about. Interest rate exposure to your principal. With a bond ladder, if you need to sell before maturity, you're exposed to market value swings. With an FIA, your contract value isn't subject to that kind of market repricing. Your protection is backed by the guarantees of the issuing insurance company. Guaranteed income for life. A bond ladder doesn't offer this. It runs out when it runs out. An FIA can include an income rider designed specifically to pay you for as long as you live, regardless of how the market performs or how long your retirement lasts. There is typically a cost associated with that rider, and it's something to understand fully before deciding it's right for you. Reinvestment risk. With a ladder, you face this every single time a rung matures. With an FIA, the guarantee is built into the contract itself. You're not exposed to reinvesting at a worse rate every few years. Now, I want to be just as fair to FIAs as I was to bond ladders. They are not without trade-offs. Your money is generally less liquid than a bond ladder. There are often surrender periods and limits on withdrawals. Growth is typically tied to a formula involving caps or participation rates, not a direct one-to-one match with market returns. And an FIA is not meant to replace every dollar of fixed income you own. It's a tool for a specific job. Let me give you another hypothetical example. I'll call her Carol. Carol had a portion of her retirement savings she wanted to feel completely certain about. Money she needed for essential expenses, no matter what happened in the markets. She used part of her portfolio to fund a fixed index annuity with an income rider, creating a floor of guaranteed income. The rest of her money stayed liquid and invested for growth and flexibility. She wasn't choosing bonds or annuities. She was assigning each dollar its own job. I want to be really clear about something. This video is not telling you to get rid of your bonds. This is about recognizing that different dollars in your plan have different jobs. Some money should stay flexible and liquid. Some money is there for growth. And some money, often the portion covering your essential, non-negotiable expenses, may be better served by a guarantee than by a ladder that depends on interest rates cooperating. This ties directly into something I've talked about before: sequence of returns risk. If you watched that video, you already know what happens to your portfolio in the first few years of retirement can matter more than almost anything else. An income floor, whether it's built with bonds or an FIA or a blend of both, is one way to protect against that risk. Let's bring this together. Bond ladders carry three real risks: reinvestment risk, interest rate risk on the value of bonds, and longevity risk. The fact that the latter eventually ends. The real question isn't bonds versus annuities. It's what job each dollar in your plan needs to do. Fixed index annuities are one tool worth understanding for the piece of your plan that needs guaranteed lifetime income, not a wholesale replacement for every fixed income dollar you own. If you want to know more about how to plan for your retirement, get the free booklet called "For Those Who Want to Prosper and Thrive in Retirement." Check out the link in the description box to get that information. And if this video helped clear things up, hit subscribe. This is Retirement Security Simplified, where we specialize in turning confusion into confidence, one conversation at a time.